Hey guys, so I was recently reminded of the Alice in Wonderland films and thought a Cheshire Cat styled amigurumi would look cute. So today, say hello to Cheshire Girl. I was thinking of the Tim Burton films, but for some reason chose the Disney cartoon colours. Don't ask me why. I have the colours to do both, but
ain't nobody got time for that.
Anyway, enough of that, let's jump in. For the materials, I'm using this bonus DK yarn from my stash in 2 tones of pink. One is obviously darker than the other. I know that on my poor struggling camera it looks red, but it's actually a deep pink, more on the maroon side. I also chose the light purple colour for her hair, but I wasn't sure about this choice, but we'll see how it goes. Also, yeah, just ignore the zip for now because I had something in mind, I had it all planned out, and then it changed at the end, so that's going to be something entirely different and it will be a different project, so just ignore that. It's never happened, you didn't see anything. Shh. Now for her feet, I chose to do a 2-toned style sneaker. Well, actually we don't call them sneakers here, we call them trainers style shoe, but as boots instead. I picked this option so that I could incorporate the 2 colours earlier on and then continue with that all the way up. I tend to do boots a lot. I mean, it's winter and I like boots. Boots are good. I mean, what are you going to do? Come at me, bro. Maybe not. But I find that boots look best on this particular design and shoes just look stubby and odd. Anyway, slightly exaggerated cartoon aesthetics help bring out the fun details in amigurumi, whether you like it or not. Anywho, I joined the legs together and carried on up the torso, striping the 2 colours as I went. And after that, I stopped there for a while because I needed to do several other parts before I carried on. One of those parts, incidentally, was the skirt, which I went back to. So because it's always better to do this before the arms go in, it's going to make it a bit more cumbersome because the arms are awkward, they get in the way, and you can't really do certain things after the amigurumi is finished, so order of operations is very important here. To do the skirt, I mean, you've seen me do this quite a few times, but it's just going round and round and round and round and round in as many rounds as I want. I think in this case I did 5 or 6 of half double crochet, just to build the skirt up from the waist down. I then added the arms when I reached that particular part of the torso. The second of the parts that I needed to create before I carried on was to finish off the jumper before finishing the head this time. The approach I took with the jumper elements here is very similar, in fact probably identical to what I did with the mushroom girl, so if you haven't seen that video I shall pop the links in the relevant places for you to have a look at. I made lengths of ribbing for the bottom of the jumper for the collar, just as I did for the cuffs of the sleeves. I then sewed these on to complete the jumper's look before moving on to the head. Okay, so after completing the head, it was onto the hair. I used the lilac coloured purple for the hair and decided to style her up with space buns. Yeah, space buns. I haven't done that on this channel before, so that's new. So this was the part where I wasn't really sure about this colour purple. Like I said, I did have colours for both the movie version, the Tim Burton's version of the movie, and the Disney version, but I don't know why, but for some reason I was debating the colour for the dark sort of blue colour, turquoisey, for the hair as well, but I decided on the purple in the end because I thought, let me just stick with the Disney version colours and stick with the purples and pinks. So to do the space buns, I made some ribbing in a similar fashion to the jumper ribbing that I did. Cinched one end closed. Then after stuffing it, I then cinched the other end closed and sewed it onto the base of the hair. I did this twice to complete the pair and finish her look. Okay, so the zip you saw earlier was meant for this part of the video, which was for the bag. Now, I had a different bag planned altogether, but obviously that didn't pan out and I had to change things on the fly. So I will do that bag probably in the tutorial, so watch out for that tutorial at some point. But let's just go ahead and talk you through the bag that I did make in the end. So to make the backpack, I started off with an oval, a very symmetrical oval, and then I just crocheted upwards. Once I got the sort of width that I wanted, I crocheted in the back loops only up to a point using the lighter pink. I then changed the colour to the darker pink to do the top of the bag. Right at the top of the bag, I then went back and forth in rows to create the flap that will come down, sort of like a satchel type flap that would come down over the bag to cover the top of the bag. I crocheted some extra bits and bobs off camera because those were just too tiny and too cumbersome to do on camera, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I completely forgot to turn on the camera. Hashtag sorry not sorry, but yeah. Anyway, so I also forgot to film me stitching them on because that was also another process. To be fair, I think I dropped the ball on this one, but you'll see the results in the end, so my apologies. Anyway, I think it came out just a little bit creepy, but when all the items are put together, it looks fine. Anyway, enjoy. Oh yeah, I then also created some straps. I made them just overly too long, just in case. But I would suggest that if you were doing this, make the straps just a little bit shorter. But I tend to not want to bend my arms my amigurumi's arms too much, because obviously the more you bend wire, the more likely it's going to snap. So I tended to just make the bag strap just a little bit longer so that I don't have to bend the amigurumi's arms that far. So after I created the straps, I then sewed them on as usual, and I'm left with a nice little bag. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. While you watch me make the finishing touches to this one, Please like, share, comment, and even consider subscribing if you like the content I create. Don't forget to hit that bell button to be notified whenever I upload a new video, and hopefully this little one leaves you grinning. Or will the grin be the last thing to leave you? Ooh. Either way, see you in the next one. Bye!